Disney World may lose power. And no, we're not talking about that metaphorical, theoretical sort of power as in control, as in, some sort of authority. No, we are talking about actual power here. We are talking about electricity, watts. We're also talking about water, wastewater, all sorts of other utilities that Disney has been running under an iron glove for the past forever. But yet, because of what they're doing with Reedy Creek in the past and this battle with the CFTOD, the new district, as well as Ron DeSantis, Disney may now come under scrutiny for their services they're providing as a contractor to the district. So we're going to talk about that today and really do a deep dive on Reedy Creek Energy Services. This is a really shady thing that has really gone under the shadows, but because of this scrutiny, because Disney keeps stepping in their own stuff, their own rat droppings, they are now putting more and more of their company and their business under scrutiny. As always, this is the legal mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. And I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney, specifically Florida attorney, specializing in special district, local government law, real estate, hailing out of the great state of Florida. So I really wanted to hammer down on this because this is something fascinating that I've seen people starting to get into online, and I know from my sources is going to come under investigation. This is absolutely huge. And I cannot underestimate what it would be for Disney to lose this system under their own control. So this is the power system at Disney World and Magic Kingdom, all of that in Central Florida. Now, some of you may recognize this image over off to my right. This is the famous Mickey pylon. Some of you may have seen this when you're driving along I-4, visiting Disney World. You may have seen this pylon, and maybe you think it's cute. It's great. This is actually one of the interconnects which takes power from the Tampa Electric Company, or TECO, and transfers it over to RCID and the district system. Now, the district system is very, very interesting. Electricity at Disney is very interesting. Now, I know that Walt originally thought about a nuclear power plant, and he was really interested in putting in that nuke plant to generate all the power for his city of tomorrow, Progress City, and for the theme parks there in Disney World. Well, however, they never got to split the atom. Instead, they rely on a power plant that is slightly north of most of the theme parks that provides a good deal of the power, and the rest they buy off of the public grid. So Disney just generate some of its own power and then buys the rest off the grid like any other consumer, any other power consumer out there in the state of Florida. And so this is part of that system. But the question is, who owns that system? What's going on with that system? Some people have said, well, Disney owns the system. And other people say, no, the district owns the system. Well, it's mostly the district, but it's also complicated, much like most of Disney's relationships. So let's turn over here and look. This is the RCID website. So this actually says it accurately. So I want to point out that the website, particularly as it's probably been updated, speaks very accurately to the situation. So the district owns and operates all utility systems within the district. So RCID owns the actual systems, which means the power lines, the pumps, the water pumps, the systems, the culverts, everything else that goes into the utility system of the former Reedy Creek, now the CFTOD, Central Florida Tourism Oversight District. They own that. So this includes a wastewater collection and treatment plant, a reclaimed water distribution system. By the way, reclaimed water, that's when you pee and they end up reusing it. Yeah, that's that. An electric generation and distribution system, that's the power plant. A solid waste collection and transfer system, trash. Solid waste recycling collection and disposal system, recycling. Potable water production and distribution, that's drinking water. Natural gas distribution, I think you guys know what gas is. A high temperature hot water system and a chilled water system. Now, so the district owns all of these things. And why does the district own them? Because the district is a public entity, and those systems were paid for by public bonds, by funds that they certified were public and would be put to a public use. So Disney is not allowed to privately own those. That would be illegal. That would be a securities violation. That would be bond fraud, tax fraud, all sorts of things. That would be horribly illegal. So let's just put out here real quick that they had to be owned by the district. But here's the catch. They can be operated by a different entity. Now, with most special districts, they're mostly smaller than Disney. So what they typically do is they build certain infrastructure, let's say pipes, pavement, everything else. They build it with bond funds and they turn it over. They give it over to the county or the city to maintain. So they'll say, okay, county and city, you go maintain this stuff. We're going to turn this over to you. It becomes part of your system, because the little special district normally doesn't have the resources and manpower to maintain staff to provide these sort of services. In this case, Reedy Creek, RCID, never had employees to operate these systems. Instead, what they did was Disney created an entity called Reedy Creek Energy Services. And you can see their logo over here, RCES. Here's their building, their power plant, which is north of the Magic Kingdom, with their logo RCES right on there. And this entity operates these systems on behalf of the district. It's like a contractor. It's like, for example, the city, owning something and contracting it out to a private contractor to run it. Now, this by itself is not illegal. So let me be very clear. I'm not making the statement this is impermissible. This is in fact okay. However, they do have to be running it and maintaining it in a way consistent with public use, meaning they have to run it fairly. They have to be consistent with public law. They have to run it for a public benefit. These are things that are very, very important for the district. They also have to set rates, utility rates, that are fair and that are fair for all users. So they need to make sure that everybody is paying their fair share. So as part of that rate making, they can't give Disney a wildly lower rate than other users that are similar, right? Another commercial user. For example, if there's two hotels, one of them's a Disney hotel, one of them's not, they can't charge the non-Disney hotel a bunch more if it's the same type, size, amount of rooms. They've got to treat people fairly. So let's keep that in mind. And remind you, up until this point, until it's been transferred over into state control, the district has been transferred over and given actual oversight, we have no idea if they've been charging fair rates for their utilities, whether it's power, water, reuse, garbage, etc. We have no idea about that rate making. So let's get into this Reedy Creek Energy Services. So I said it's a subsidiary of the Walt Disney Company. Yes, that's right. It used to actually be its own company. This is actually Sunbiz. You can look this up. It used to be Reedy Creek Energy Services, used to be its own corporation. However, in 1999, they merged this, and they actually just had the gall to merge it right in with the Walt Disney World Company. So they just weren't hiding the ball at all. They just said, you know what, we're giving up the ghost and stopping pretending we're doing this anywhere else. It's just a part of Disney. So those employees of Reedy Creek Energy Services, that's just a department within Disney. So Disney is running this. Do you see the potential for corruption? Do you see the potential for issues here with this? But that's not all. This is not where this ends in terms of the story of potential corruption. But let's get further into what they do. This is a good presentation from 2010 on the Reedy Creek Energy Services. So obviously you've got electrical, natural gas, water, chill water, hot water, water control, wastewater, and solid waste, serving the entire area within the district. But here's the point. They are a contractor to the Reedy Creek Improvement District. If you might think about a contractor, because that's a type of relationship that you can terminate. So let me let you guys understand this. When you hire a contractor, they're not entitled to a job forever. They're only entitled to a job for as long as you have a contract with them. Get it? So if that contract expires, you do not have to renew that contract. So what's the first question that would come into your head? Well, how long is their contract? Because of course, this new district should be evaluating all of its contracts to decide whether their contracts are fair. They should go through an analysis of all contracts to decide whether or not they were disproportionately favoring Disney. And if they were unfair, for example, they were charging too much to the other users for water, wastewater, and trash, and giving Disney an unfair discount or unfair advantage, or not providing equal services, that would be apt grounds to terminate an existing contract. That being said, you might ask, well, what about the contract? Well, how long is the contract? Well, funny you might ask that, and that's exactly where we get into our problem. But I have a problem as well, which you guys can help me with. I am almost at 100,000 subs. So if you guys could smash the like button, subscribe. I know that more than half of you watching are not subscribed. If just the people who are not subscribed could subscribe today, I hope I've earned your subscription through this coverage. If you could just smash that subscribe button, it would be a big help in getting this good information out there in the algorithm. So the secret that I wanted to bring up here and that I discovered is that the contract was extended just this year. In fact, it was extended at the exact same time as the illegal and unenforceable development agreement and restrictive covenants. As a recap, if you guys have been following this, at the February 8th meeting of the Reedy Creek Improvement District, on this agenda, they did several shady things that have now been declared by both the CFTOD, the district, the successor district, the Florida legislature in both houses, signed by Ron DeSantis, as illegal and void ab initio, which means it's as if they didn't exist for numerous reasons. And if you want to hear about that, check out my last videos on that, the reasons why the development agreements are void, are unenforceable. But that being said, at this very same meeting where they did the other shady stuff of approving these development agreements, approving these licenses, they also approved the labor services agreement with Reedy Creek Improvement District, and they extended it until 2032. So at this same meeting where they were taking shady actions, they extended this agreement. And why did they extend this agreement? Well. They extended it to align with RCID's 2032 comprehensive plan. This is very interesting because that's the same comprehensive plan which the state in their lawsuit says is not valid because it was not properly noticed, because they did not provide proper notice for that comprehensive plan and did not provide proper information, which, according to everything we have so far, appears to be true. So it appears that their updates that they justified, not just the development agreement and the restrictive covenants, but also this labor contract with, are completely void and invalid, which would presumptively invalidate this contract with the Reedy Creek Energy Services. So they could very well go back and find that this contract is void. What does this mean? That means that Disney could lose control over their power system, their water, their wastewater, their trash. This could be taken out from under their hands, or they could renegotiate the contract. They could say, hey, Disney, we're looking at your rates here and it looks like you're not charging fair rates. We have to charge more. We have to charge you more, Disney, right? We have to renegotiate what we have as this part of this package. Also, one thing they did here was they changed the amount that RCES charges. So essentially, remember, this is what Disney is doing here. Disney, who controlled RCID, upped their own pay. Does that sound fair to you? Does that sound just to you? Remember, Disney and Bob Iger are saying that RCID and Disney were the same thing. So if they're the same thing, Disney approved Disney's rate hikes. Does that sound fair? Does that sound just? And certainly that's not legitimate under Florida law. This is something that can come under scrutiny in this contract, which is right here, the amended and restated labor agreement. I'm not going to go through it. It's kind of boring. But that being said, I did read it top to bottom. And I will say, because this thing, as they admit here right in the beginning, in the front of this, is entirely to accommodate for this comprehensive plan, which has been overturned, the timing of this being suspect, I think this agreement is entirely up for grabs. And do not be surprised if you see down the pike a giant fight over the energy at Walt Disney World. I'm not saying it's lights out for Disney just yet, but listen, there may or may not be a couple blackouts. Guys, I'll catch you later. Take care.